Hey now, can you hear me okay?
We can indeed, sir.
I'm glad. Peter, it's a tremendous honor to talk to you. You've really done an incredible job pretty much destroying everyone in your path with the kindest heart.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. I had a quick question about your atheism as a philosophy, your own personal philosophy. You seem to be one of the few people who has come, dare I say, full circle with your concepts. And what I mean by that is that at first, for me anyway, I had a hard time coming to terms and being comfortable with being an atheist. Right now, I'm having now. Right now, I'm comfortable. I'm very happy to be an atheist. My life has changed for the better. But I'm extremely uncomfortable with everyone else's theology. Every time I hear a reference to any deity, it makes me upset. But you seem to be completely okay with everyone's theology and their right to have their own religion. I was wondering if that's true, or is it just something I'm picking up as a byproduct of watching your videos?
Um, okay, Thunder, I hope you're going to come in on this. And Aaron, I'm not sure of your views, but Thunder's probably a little bit more the militant atheist than I am. I don't know if that's an unfair characterization.
Oh yeah.
I always say it. I don't mind people having personal beliefs as long as they keep them personal and that they understand that they're beliefs. In other words, as long as they keep them to themselves, don't start trying to, brainwash kids or trying to tell other people how to act or how to believe. As long as they keep that personal, that's fine. And as long as they understand that this is a belief, it's not a fact, it's not a science, and therefore it's not something that should be in the science classroom. As long as they understand it's a personal belief, I don't have any problem with it. As a kid, I grew up going to church. I go to churches now for weddings and things like that. I'm quite happy with friends of mine who are of different religions, and I don't have a problem. It's when they start using that religion to beat other people with that's a problem for me, and especially when they start trying to pervert science with their religious beliefs, that's also a problem. I don't take it much further than that, and I don't know, Thunder. I think
Well, I
you
think
do, and I
I think
think.
Aaron is desperate to chip in, so I'm going to go to Aaron first, and
Oh,
then come
Aaron,
back
yeah,
to
go
you,
ahead. You
then
can
come
go
back to you,
quiet.
Thunder.
All right. Well, while our guest mentioned that he gets irritated when he hears about deities and all, I don't have a problem with deities. I mean, bring on your Bob Dobbs, bring on your Cult of Cthulhu. I don't mind. Just because it's a deity doesn't bother me. It's people who believe outrageous things on faith bothers me. Faith is the thing that it's the soapbox that I get on about. It's when people assert as truth things that are not evidently true and then refuse to be reasoned with about that. Now, if it were, as Potholer was saying, that they keep it personal, then I really don't care if you believe in Santa Claus. I really don't. But if you want to defer government funds, if you want to shut down if you want to shut down airlines because on Christmas Eve you run a risk of crashing into reindeer, I'm going to object. If you want to teach children in science class that reindeer, bats, and birds all fly, I'm going to object. When you want to when you want to do an expedition to study the elves of the North Pole, I'm going to object. And the same thing applies to the tooth fairy and anything else. When people start diverting real funds, they don't understand why I have an objection to people who believe things on faith. I don't understand why they don't understand why you can't just make up something and then pretend that it's true and tell people that it's true and then refuse to be listened to where that's concerned and then teach that in school just because that's what you want to believe. And unfortunately, the religious people that I run into very often seem to me, from the way that I view them, they seem to know that what they believe is a matter of pretend, but that they're going to force it out anyway and pretend to know things they can't really know. And I'm done.
Thunder.
I'm very much in line with what Potter has to say. I would probably couch it in more probably utilitarian terms. There is typically an overhead associated with belief in nonsense. Now, when that's on an individual basis, it's really not that big of a deal. What people do in the comforts of their own mind basically, what that's their problem. Sure, it might fritter away, mankind's capacity, but it's not a big deal. Not got a great problem there. When you move on to organized religions, organized groups of people have an amplified capacity to affect things. And organized religion is no exception. Organized religion has a disproportionate ability to either, do good things or bad things. And its ability to do bad things, like in the case of the Catholic Church, the ability to endorse wholesale that use of condoms in the middle of an AIDS epidemic is a bad thing. Right? This is where I really have the objections, or that beheading infidels is a perfectly acceptable and laudable way to behave. That's where my primary grievances lie. Or if you go on the basis that the two most important elements in mankind being what it is are its ability to acquire information and store it, then sort of getting into the educational system and basically corrupting the minds of a generation is one of the more egregious acts you can actually perform. And if you've got your organized religions doing things like that, then obviously that's a big issue.
Potholer, a couple months ago during the Golden Crocodile nomination submission time, unless you're still accepting submissions, I'm not 100% sure, I sent you a video from MegaSage 007 as his positive claim that Hitler was an atheist. And it didn't make it as one of the nominees. And I was wondering, is that because it didn't meet a certain criteria or not? I actually had a very long exchange with MegaSage about Hitler as an atheist. And I actually ended up calling, what is the name of the, Ray Comfort's...
Kirk Cameron.
Ray Comfort.
The Way of the Master.
The Way of the Master. Okay.
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
I ended up calling them in Los Angeles and asked them about their views as theists about Hitler and God. And they said, as far as they know, Hitler was not an atheist, and every claim in the Bible would show him to be an idolater and not an atheist. So using another theist against him, I showed my sources that this is not a shared view.
God damn it, sources.
The power of the
We don't
source.
do that objective verification here.
I learned all my objective verification from Potholer. I would have never been able to have the skill without him. But my point is that the reason I'm trying to find out why it is that he was not considered to be a nominee. Did my video not go through, or is he just does not qualify under your
Thanks,
criteria?
Norman. We've got the point. We'll let
Yes, sir.
Potholer answer, and thank you very much for the call. But
Thank
as I
you.
say, I am going to move on and try and get other people in.
Okay,
Potholer, do you want to
Okay,
address that as the
thanks.
next caller in?
Yeah, thanks very much, Norman, and thanks for calling in and asking the questions. I'm glad to address this because I get a lot of people who are a bit confused about the nomination process. And one of the problems, the biggest problem I have, this might not have applied to you, I don't know exactly how you phrased the message you sent to me, is I get so many people who just write in and say, oh, you should watch this, or this guy's an idiot, look at this. And they just give URLs for videos that I'm supposed to watch. I don't have the time, I'm afraid, to go through dozens and dozens of videos every week. And I do my list of this. So what I need...
Carter, can you just mute your mic for a moment?
So what is the bullshit? I won't take you down. If you let me know that, that lets me go straight to it. I know what I'm dealing with. Now, as to the specifics on MegaSage and Hitler, I think one of the reasons I've got this, and I get so many, I can't remember this particular one you sent, it probably would have been because it's an unanswerable question. And with the crocodile, it has to be something that can be proven bullshit. And the great thing about science is that when someone spouts bullshit in science, you can prove it to be bullshit. If it's more a question of belief, which is what we're dealing with here, what is Hitler's belief? Well, we're never going to know. And therefore the argument goes round and round in circles. I've wasted enough time, after parties at 3 o'clock in the morning when we've all been perhaps smoking things we shouldn't, and you waste 3 hours till 6 o'clock in the morning talking about something that you can't even remember what the conclusion was the following day.
What a
So
bombshell! I thought you were potholers because you were a geologist, not because you smoked.
Oh, and you know, listen, Richard, a lot of people ask me where this comes from. Pothole was an old nickname of mine. When I was working in London for a trading company, I had been a geologist for 2 years, and of course they found this out, and so I immediately got the nickname Potholer. And people still ask me, oh yeah, you're called Potholer because you delve into things. No, that's not the reason, it's just an old nickname. Pothole Pete was my nickname, and so when I got onto YouTube, it was the first name I thought of. Had I actually thought about it, I would have had a much classier name, like Thunderfoot. You got the monopoly on that now. There has to be something a little more dramatic than Pothole 54. But there you go.
Likewise, when I set up my channel, I would have come up with something far more original than my name. Carter, welcome to the show.